one of the things that's really great about our yoga practice is this, I talked about it last week, this sense of interoception. And if you're going to go back through the library of my classes, look for the one, I think it's titled Yielding. And I think that would be a really great class for you all to watch. It's this concept that we have to learn to lean in, right? And if we are always pushing in our lives, whether it's in our yoga practice or anything else, we often kind of resist the flow. And this concept of yielding is that we have the earth supporting us. We have gravity supporting us, even though sometimes we might feel like gravity is not supporting us. It is. And yielding is this concept of being able to lean into the earth and let it lean right back out to us. And it looks very unique in the sense that if we're trying to prop away from the earth, you know, we're pushing ourselves up away from the earth, and we can get really rigid and hard in the body. And then if we totally give ourselves over to the earth and collapse, we lose our sense of integrity a little bit. So really, yielding is this relationship that we have with the earth, this capacity to give and take. And it's a beautiful way to practice. If you can cultivate some yielding in your yoga practice, then not only will your body feel really good, but it also gives you a way of moving in the world. Not that we're moving very much in the world right now, but even moving in the online world with the relationships you have, this sense of going with the flow and meeting resistance when you need to, you know, finding something, support when you need to, not resistance, but support when you need to, and also knowing when to let things pass. So it's skillful, and it takes a long time to develop it in the body, and I think an even longer time to develop it in the mind, but it's a worthy practice to work with in the body. And I talked last week about this sense of interoception, kind of moving into the sense of your inner being. And to me, yielding and breath go together. And the two of them have, for me, have been the best gateway into interoception. And an embodied practice is what we want to be embodied. We want to be embodied on all we do. We want to be present. We want to be here for all the good things, the hard things, all the things. So I think yielding and breath are really good gateways to get there. Okay, so let's sit up straight and tall and close our eyes and take a moment to notice how you feel. How was your sleep? Have you been up for hours and hours, or did you just roll out of bed? Have you been enjoying the spring? Is the energy of the earth kind of connecting with you at all? How has your body been feeling? And there are places that are talking a little bit more loudly to you than usual. There are places that have quieted down that usually talk to you louder. How has the shifting of your lifestyle through this pandemic affected your body? How has it impacted your mind? I mean, that's a really big loaded question, right? But just settle into what's here right now. How is the state of your steadiness in your mind? And try not to change what you're finding. So whatever you're finding, notice. Body, mind, just notice. There's no judgments or expectations attached. Just a sense of presence and observation with what is. Feel your breath coming into you. Feel a sense of expansion in all directions, that three-dimensional breath of expansion on your inhale. Relaxing back home toward the center of your exhale. And if you tend to be a high breather, if you're an upper chest breather, traps kind of get involved in your breath, see what you can do to pay attention and drop down deeper into the diaphragm. And if you also feel like you only breathe low, where you don't have full capacity, just see what that feels like. Just bring online anything that's not present for the breath. So whether it's high or low, or the side ribs or the back, the movement of your diaphragm, whatever you're finding that's kind of quiet, a little reluctance to join the party. Bring your attention there and coax things free. How's your body responding to your full breath? Can you relax a little bit more on your exhales? Can you feel some ease? Softness in your face, your eyes, your jaw, the base of your skull? Is there softness in your palms of your hands? Can you feel your shoulder blades slide down the back a little bit instead of preparing for turtle, the turtle effect? Can you just let the shoulder blades slide down? Let's go ahead and bring the hands to the heart and offer in, bow in. What is it that you need? How can your practice support you today in your mind, your body, your spirit? Let's release the hands and let's come onto your mat. Okay, so lie down, come onto your back. Stretch your body out. Okay, so feel a sense of length. And notice, when you go horizontal again, hopefully it's not been too many hours since you've been in bed, but notice the gift of lying down. And Ruth, over in Scotland, it's probably been many hours since you've been in bed, so I apologize for making that reference. You're probably ready for bed. So just go ahead and rest down. See what it feels like to drop your bones. Feel a sense of weight. And can you give yourself over to the yielding here? So we won't do too much exploration in it. Once again, really, if you're going to find something in my library, go to the class on yielding. I think it will be a really good way of, it was a very deep exploration into this practice, and it's very helpful. So for right now, let's just drop into the weight. Feel a sense of surrender into the floor, and feel how this floor meets you, lifts up and meets you. It's not collapsing under your weight. It's not collapsing and refusing to support you. It's right there. And gravity, same. Can you feel its heavy blanket upon you, like a weighted blanket? And find those two forces sandwiching you, not in a compressive squeeze way, but just in the sense that you are supported from above and from below. Allow your breath to easily move into those planes. Notice how the spine changes shape as you breathe. All right, and then let's go ahead and bring our knees into our chest and rock around a little bit. So just going back and forth, swaying from side to side. Maybe circling your knees one direction a few times, and circling your knees the other direction a few times. All right, and then right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. Give yourself a little squeeze, maybe roll through your ankles and feet. And it's important to wake up the feet, especially if you wear tight shoes, that don't let your feet move very well. See what it feels like to just let the feet be open and free. And then let's change sides. Left knee into the chest, right leg long. Feel the extension of your hip flexors as much as you feel the compression in your left hip. Feel free to point and flex the toes or do some ankles, some wiggles. And then relax and bring the right knee back up. Join the two together and then bring the knees out and bring the knees in. So just kind of lubricating the mobility of the hip joints. See what kind of range of motion you have as you draw the knees apart and draw the knees back together. And what is your trajectory? Do you go straight out, or are you more curvy in the hip joint? I tend to be a little more curvy, like my knees want to come toward my chest and then swing out. So just feel what feels natural to your body and respect your rhythm. What's the most efficient pathway of movement in your hip joint?
Take the feet long on the floor. Find your starfish, stretching from your navel out to your edges. And then exhale and draw your knees in, your chin up, all your air out. A couple of more times, like a lying down cat-cow. Open yourself up, get big stretch to your extremities. Exhale, close yourself up, get small, tuck into your inner space. One more time. And it's okay to leave your head down. You don't have to pick your head up, but by all means, you can pick your head up. All right, and then let's relax. Let's roll over onto our side and come up onto our hands and our knees. Okay. So cat-cows, definitely, what a beautiful way to wake up the spine. So just notice, start arching and rounding the spine, taking your time. So, this could be difficult. A lot of people who have challenges with their vertebrae, this isn't necessarily always an easy thing. So even if it is easy for you, slow it down just a little bit so you can feel the ripple through your spine. Try to connect with every vertebrae as it goes. How is your breath? And then let's go ahead and pause on all fours. We're going to turn and look out over our right foot. You can let your left hip kind of push out to the left side a little bit, just opening up the side body. Take a breath here. And then come back to center. Go over the other way. So dropping the hips over to the side, turn and look out over your left foot. Deep breath. Take your time to explore what this feels like. And then come back to a flat back. One more round of a cat-cow, arching the back and rounding the spine. And then feel free to move any way you want to move. So do you want to kind of rock your head around? Do you want to circle through your pelvis? Is your rib cage feeling? Is there any movement that your body wants? Try not to think so much, but just allow yourself to feel. And then stretch back towards child's pose. Settle the hips toward the heels. Open your body up. Even if you don't go back all the way in child's pose, just see what's here. All right, and then take a deep breath as we walk our hands over to the right side of the mat. Open the side body a little bit differently than what we just did. Now it's really the very outermost rim of the body that's getting an opening. So feel that through your arm, your shoulder, your ribs. See if you can breathe into it. Let the breath touch the very outer edges of your skin, at your armpit, at your side body. And then come back to center and inch over the other way. Just finding that sense. What's different here? How do you feel different on this side versus the other side? What has been, what's your movement pattern? What do you like to do in your body? What's not as familiar? Let's go ahead and come back. Come up onto all fours again. Anything you want to do, some swirls, some cat-cows. We're just going to simply take a twist. So drop the shoulder down, twisting to the side, opening up the breath in a unique way that twisting does. Deep inhale, a long exhale. Even if there's some trapping, if you feel like you can't breathe as deeply, enjoy the resistance against the breath to give it a container to expand into. All right, now keeping the arm there, let's go ahead and turn our torso toward the floor. Stretch back towards child's pose and allow your torso to settle. So you're just stretching the outer shoulder a little bit more. You may not go very far down, that's okay. Okay, and then go ahead and come on up and release that arm. Second side, we're dropping the shoulder down under. Gaze toward the floor so your neck stays nice and soft. You can push a little bit through the hand on the floor if that feels nice to you. How are your hips? Did they push way off to the side? See if you can keep some balance with your pelvis over your knees. How is your breathing here? Is there anything you can do to settle and soften, to let the breath have a little freedom within the container that it's in. All right, and then let's go ahead and turn toward the floor with your torso. Stretch back towards child's pose, letting the outer shoulders stretch a little bit. Finding your breath. All right, and then go ahead and pick that up. Spread out the hands, curl the toes under, and lengthen through your body here. Up into dog pose you go. So take your time. This is just warming up the dog pose here. So feel free to pick up your hands and re-spread them down. Pick up a foot and re-spread it down. Feel where you're connecting with the earth. And what does it feel like to give yourself, to just drop like you're sinking in sand? Sink the hands and the feet, and then feel the rebound. So it's like a yield push. So there is a little push off the earth to give you that length through the body, but do it after you yield. So if you're just pushing, so everybody just push now, so no yielding. Just try to push yourself away from the floor. And notice, did you lock out your elbows, your shoulders? Is your neck tight? Is your breath shallow? Maybe your knees even locked out. And then instead, find the yield push. So give yourself to the earth and find that relationship constantly flowing where we're yielding and pushing, and yielding and pushing. And notice what has shifted. Is the energy more full in your body? Do you have connection? Do you feel like there's movement within the posture, even though you're still, you're not really going anywhere? Did your elbows unlock? Did your breath change? Do you have more connection to the earth? All right, then let's go ahead and walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Fold in half. Feel a sense of freedom in your neck. Bobble around. Roll through your shoulders, your neck, your hips. Any kind of movement that feels nice. Remember, your knees can be so deeply bent here. And then begin to straighten your legs so you can hold your shins or your thighs. Come into a halfway lift. Find your breath. And exhale and release. Let's push off your feet and rise up. Coming up to stand. So we're going to, you can lift your arms if that feels good, kind of complete the upward motion. We're going to practice the sense of yielding. So, let's do the opposites for first, what we don't want to do. So first, just prop. So imagine yourself trying to get off the earth. You're trying to lift yourself off the earth. You're not accepting the downward gravity, and you're not accepting leaning into the earth. You're trying to push against gravity upward and leave the earth. Notice what happened to your joints and your breath. Chances are your knees are locked out and your breath is trapped right at your upper chest. Maybe your diaphragm's not moving well. And then do just the opposite, collapse. See if you could, like you're melting into the floor. And this also is not very supportive. I mean, it's good to do this when you're ready to rest and you're actually on the floor. But when we're moving and needing support, this collapse is also just as detrimental. So you might feel in your collapse that your breath is not happening very well, okay? Your joints may not be locked out in extension, but they might not be very mobile and dynamic, okay? So now let's try to find something right in between. So yield into the earth and push, almost like, so imagine you're gonna jump. Don't jump, but imagine you're going to. So you would push, you would bend your knees and give yourself to the earth before you would take off. So the earth has to give you something to levitate. So imagine that you're about to leap, give yourself over to that sense of yielding, and then a slight push off the earth. So there's this exchange. There's a constant flow of movement from the earth back through our body and back to the earth again. So when you feel that dynamic energy exchange, how is your breath? How are your joints? How is your sense of interoception? Your capacity to sense your inner body? Is it heightened? Does it feel free? Do you feel supported? So that's what we're looking for, and you can find this yielding in any posture, So inhale, as you reach up, feel the yield, push off the floor to extend upward through your arms. And exhale and bend your knees. Soften your way back to the earth. Inhale for a halfway lift. Hold the shins or thighs. Exhale and melt back down. Let's come onto our knees. Bring our right foot forward and our left knee is on the ground. You can always take the knee off the floor if you don't want your knee down. So like Christine with your knee, I don't know if it feels comfortable to have your knee on the ground. Might be better to just have it up. Okay, so you decide. All right, so let's come into the extension through your body. Lengthen through your heart. When you're ready, reach the arms up. So one of the things that can happen here is we can get so pushing upward that we forget to give ourselves downward. So feel the yield. Give your legs into the earth and then rebound up through the legs into the torso. And just constantly find that exchange instead of just once, instead of like yield, push. Okay, then I'm gonna stay in the push. Just keep finding the yield and the push over and over again. Like a little tiny dance inside your body. Dance it with the breath. All right, now let's go ahead and release the hands down onto the ground. Extend the spine. Now we are going to pick up our back knee. So curl your toes under and lift your knee off the floor. If you have blocks, have them underneath your hands. And let's start to move. So square hips. Relax your head down. Inhale, bend your knee and come forward. Breathing as you go. Enjoying the opening. All right, and then we're going to move our back foot in some. So our stance is much shorter. Feel free to take the right foot out to the right more. Hands can stay on the blocks. The spine extends. Heart is forward. Finding your breath. Stay grounded through the big toe as you reach the hip back. Finding that place. Can you yield here? Even though our legs are straight or straight-ish, is there a capacity to have softness in your knees so you can yield into the earth and give back? Let's go ahead and come on up. And if you don't have blocks, you can do a lot of this with a chair or a piece of furniture. You know, if you get close to your chair to do this, you'll have something to lean against. Okay. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. We're going to take our arms in a big wide circle. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Open the chest. Find your breath. You might feel that your ribs pop out, so draw them back in. Lift from the pubic bone all the way up like a zipper, zipping through your body. And then exhale and peek over the edge and just hang out here for a minute. A lot of work to stabilize. Squaring the hips so the hamstring of the front leg is flexing and extending all at one time. Is there a yield to happen through your feet? And then unwind the arms and bring your hands back onto your support again. Extending the heart forward. And then let's walk our back foot to meet our front foot. Inhale for a halfway lift. You can even have your hands on the blocks if you want. Exhale and melt back down. Change sides. Take your left foot forward. Your knee comes down onto the floor. Just enjoy the extension through the hip flexor. Just let that open a bit. You can lay your your toes down on the ground behind you or curl your toe under, whatever's good. Extend upward, finding the breath. And remember, your lunge gets to be where it wants. You know, if you don't lunge well, if your hips don't like that, then you're here and not here. Okay, so find your boundaries, nobody else's boundaries. Okay. Reach the arms. Maybe your shoulders don't like that and you need to be somewhere else with your arms out or cactused or hands together. The important thing is to yield and lengthen through your spine. As you push back off the floor, let that rebound through your spine. And then let's place our hands down onto the blocks. Lift your back knee up off the floor. Extend and straighten your legs. So the front knee bends, and then the front knee begins to straighten. Bow your head as you straighten your front leg. Let that spine, really the full back line of the body, get some extension, moving back and forth. Let's pause in the lunge. Walk your back foot in some.
So the support can be on a chair or some blocks. You can even have your hand on your leg. If the challenge of having your hand on your leg is you don't want to push your knee. So you want to make sure that you can have a little micro bend in your knee. All right, and then let's go ahead and come on up. Let's find our zipper again. So zipping like you're zipping a coat all the way up. Maybe lift your hands. If your balance is a little off, try taking your front foot out to the side a little bit more so you're wider in your stance. Bring your hands behind you. Interlace your fingers the weird way. Open the shoulders. Take a deep breath in. And then just peek a little bit over the edge. So we're not going very far. You don't have to go real deep in this pose. I mean, you can go real deep in this pose if you want to. But feel that as your torso comes over your leg, this hamstring has to work really hard to maintain that. Keep lifting the heads of the arm bones away from the ground. Feel the ribs stabilize you, your core stabilize you. All right, and then release your hands back down onto the blocks, extending the heart. Okay, and then let's take our hands off the blocks. We're going to come back to dog pose. Spread out the hands, spread out the feet. Feel that sense of yield push here again. Can you give yourself to the earth? Can you soften the joints so you feel the energy flow into the earth and then rebound back through the body? Okay, come forward into a plank, and you can put your knees down for this plank. And if if planks are difficult for you, and you're not here, but you also don't want to be just on all fours, try taking your knees just a little further back. This will give you a little bit more strength bearing onto your upper body. So it's kind of like halfway in between. Extend through your heart, shoulders away from the ears. Find the stability. Hug your hands toward each other so you feel your torso engaged. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and lower ourselves down to the floor. Let's take a breath. Cobra pose, opening the chest, back of the neck stays long. Exhale, and melt to the floor. Let's try that one more time. Inhale, shoulders back. Exhale. Put your head down onto your forearms. Feel your breath for a moment. Notice the change of shape in your spine. As you inhale, as you exhale. And then we're going to come back up onto all fours. Let's do that same turning and looking out over the feet. And going side to side. Just letting your back be soothed. And from here, we're going to take our our right foot forward again. Come into a lunge with your back knee down. And we're going to turn this into a little bit of a twist. So perhaps you let your forearm rest on your knee, your other hand can be on your thigh, and you just twist here. This is a big opening for the hip flexors. When your torso stays upright like this, perhaps you would rather put your hand down onto the ground and lift your arm up. Perhaps you'd like to have your back knee off the floor. So just experiment with what kind of twist your body wants in this moment. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Feel the crown. Stay grounded through your front big toe, that right big toe mound rooting into the earth. Is there a place to find your yield push here? How is your breath? Twisting changes the breath. So what happens? How can you still create a sense of smooth and steady? All right, and then let's come out of that pose. Come back up onto all fours. Have a cat-cow. Exhale and round the spine. Let's change sides. Bring your left foot forward. Back knee is going to stay on the floor. Whatever twist you did on that first side, let's repeat it on this side. So you can take your forearm onto your knee, your other hand to help you lengthen your spine. You can take your hand on the floor with your hand on your knee, or you can lift the arm in the air. You can do this pose with your back leg lifted off the floor. So whatever you're doing, feel that sense of release. The shoulders move away from the ears. We're finding the hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Stay grounded through the big toe to help stabilize your legs. Deepen your breath. Can you yield? Can you push? All right, let's release that. Bring your back foot forward. Come into Uttanasana, fold in half. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Push off your feet. Let's rise up, reaching the arms to the sky. Finding your breath. Exhale and release your arms down. Let's feel the yield push again. So give yourself to the earth and find the earth give something back to you. So try it. If you lock out your knees, if you push your knees back, you're not going to be able to yield. It's just kind of impossible. So soften your joints. Let there be freedom in your joints so that you can give and receive. Okay, inhale, reach the arms to the sky. Let's take our right foot forward and our left foot back. Shorten the stance again. So like we were in before, you can take your foot out to the side as much as you need to. You can be more narrow. So you decide what's going to give your pelvis a sense of stability. Find your breath. Blocks are nice, or a chair or something to put your hand on. Find your breath. Reach your arm up in the air. So our left arm's lifting, our right hand's on our hip. Extend forward. Our legs stay straight-ish. They don't have to be locked. Please don't lock your knee. Place your hand. So if you have two blocks, sometimes you can have one block and another block on top, so that when we come into revolved triangle pose where we're going, you have enough support to keep your spine long. So as we start turning to the right, stay deeply rooted through the right big toe. Reach the hip back, feel the spine extend forward. You can keep your right hand on your hip, or you can lift your right arm in the air. How is your left shoulder? Is it rounding forward? See if you can take the shoulder blade down the back a little bit. Feel the slide. Feel the breath. Are you rooted through your back foot? It's okay if you have to lift the heel a little bit. Just see where are you able to yield, push in a pose like this? Do you have a sense of scissoring in your inner thighs? Are they collapsing in on each other? Can you feel the inner spiral of your femur bones? Is your spine long? All right, and then let's go ahead and release your foot down onto the ground. Walk your back foot forward. Come to a halfway lift. Exhale and melt. Okay, soften your knees. Fold in a little bit. Feel your spine. Let it rest. And let's take our other foot back. So now our left foot is forward. Our right foot is back. The stance is shorter than it was before. Feel free to take this foot out to the side as much as you need to for balance and stability, and also to be able to keep your pelvis straight. If your stance is very narrow, you're on a little precipice and it's hard to find the inner spiral of your thighs. So extend through your heart, find your breath. This time we're going to lift our right arm up in the air. Our left hand stays on our hip. Extend forward, reach the hand. Maybe you want some extra height, 2 blocks underneath you. Maybe you have a table or a chair you're putting your hand on. Find the extension. Breathing here. Before you start twisting, organize your legs. Inner spiral your thighs. Root into the left big toe mound. Reach the left hip back. Find that sense that you're not popping the hip out to the side, but drawing it in toward the midline. Extend the spine. And only after all that happens, start to twist your body in the pose. Are you locking out your knees? Is there a way for you to yield, push, even in a weird twisty pose? Can you feel the yield push through your legs? What does it give you to yield push? Find your breath. You can always keep your hand on your hip, or you can lift your hand in the air. Whatever feels good. You can turn your head up toward the sky. You can turn your head wherever is going to be comfortable for your neck to be. Shoulder blades down the back. Stay rooted through the big toe mound. Inner spiral the thighs. Keep the femur bones hugging toward the midline. Extend the heart. Extend the spine. Keep breathing. Feel your yield push. Okay, and then let's go ahead and relax. Release that. Walk your back foot forward. One more time, coming to a halfway lift. Exhale and melt. Bend your knees. Push off your feet. Rise up. Reaching the arms to the sky. Lean back a little bit. Open the chest. And then exhale and round in palms toward each other. So see what it feels like now to lift your sternum. Just slide the shoulder blades down the back to feel that the heads of the arm bones are slightly back behind the heart. But we're not pushing and pressing our chest forward either. There's just a sense of leading from the heart. Soften the knees. Breathe into the very soles of your feet. Inhale, reach the arms. Exhale and bend your knees, folding forward. Stretch your hands out, come into dog pose on your mat. Lengthen through your spine. You can always put your knees down if your shoulders are like, I've had enough dog poses for the day. Then you do something different. Yield into the earth, rebound through the body. All right, let's go ahead and walk our feet forward. And we're going to turn to the long edge of our mat. So turn this away. Okay. We're just going to open up a slightly different way. We've done a lot of internal, inner spiral of the thighs. So now we're just going to find some external rotation. So turn your feet out a little bit. And we're just going to slowly start to come down and up into some goddess pose legs. So notice, if you have a knee, everybody's got a knee, right? But if you have a knee that's troublesome, like my knee hurts a little bit when I do this until I'm warmed up. So just if you know that your spot is right here, you stay right here. Make sure you're paying attention to the feedback that your joints are giving you. Sometimes finding a different vector of movement is one of the best things that you can do. So perhaps turn your toes in a little bit more and not go so externally rotated. There's lots of different things you can do. You can take your legs wider, deeper, narrower, just feeling that sense of warming the hips in this way. Okay, so hopefully you found your vector of movement that's best for you. And remember, everything that you do in yoga, you want to open the possibility for more movement potential in the future. So if you're doing something that hurts over and over and over and over again, and ignoring it and doing it anyway, chances are you're shrinking your potential for movement in the future by overdoing today. So where can you find just the perfect little sweet spot for your range of motion where you are comfortable and not having alarm bells in your joints? Okay, so find where you need to be. So it could be very high, it could be very low, it could be something right in the middle. So find your place. Bring your hands away from your knees now. So yield and push. Bring yourself into your breath. Notice if you turtle your shoulders up, if you're trying to do the pose with your neck has nothing to do with the efforting in the pose. Give the efforting into the lower body. Drop in, settle, sink into the earth and rebound up. Find some spinning of your feet. So turn your toes out and turn your heels in. So, we're kind of, with your right leg, you're doing a clockwise spiral, and with your left foot, you're doing a counterclockwise spiral. Feel the lights that turn on in your hips when you do this. Shaking is a good thing. It's just the body applauding you for your efforts. Deep breaths. Is there a yielding to happen here? Can you give yourself over to the pose a bit? All right, and then go ahead and straighten your legs. Heel toe your feet in a little bit more. Back to center. Try to always do a balanced pose of some kind. So we're going to come into tree pose. Root the right foot deep into the earth. Your left foot, your toes can be right here at your ankle. You can be on your shin, or on your calf, you can be anywhere you want, up your leg. Be mindful to not push into the knee joint if you're at your knee. And it's okay if you need to, I'm too far away from the wall, but if you need to hold something, hand on a piece of furniture or a wall, that's so great, especially if it prevents you from doing this. So we don't want to let the hip hike out in order to find, ourselves feeling weirdly balanced. So the hip moves in, the knee is soft, yield, yield, push. When you yield, feel the push all the way through your crown. Your arms can go anywhere you want them to be. Can you feel that same action in the outer hips when you're spinning your feet in those outward spirals? Can you feel that in your hip now? Feel anything you want with your upper body, any position that feels good. Yield, push, soften the knee you're standing on. How is your breath? And then unwind the arms. Let's go ahead and put our feet on the ground. Maybe bounce a few times or just wiggle so that you let go of the pose. And then close your eyes for a minute and just have such deep gratitude for the steadiness of 2 feet on the ground. Maybe even take your feet wider if you want, and just feel this sense of rooting that 2 feet gives you, the stability, steadiness, connecting with the earth. And then let's find the other side when you're ready. So stand on your left foot. We're gonna bring our right foot anywhere along the path that feels right to you. Make sure your left knee that you're standing on is soft and not locked out. Feel the hip hug in instead of sticking out to the side, hug it in. Anything you wanna do with your arms is fabulous, okay? If you need, oh, I'm too far away again. If you need the support of touching something, then touch something. Let go of your expectations. So balance poses isn't always about balance. And sometimes having something close by where you just, it's there, maybe you're not touching it, but every once in a while you need to just tap. This is a safety net for you so that you can rest in the pose. The knee is soft, feel your yielding forces. Spin your foot like you did in goddess pose. Feel the work in your outer hip up there in the air. How's your breath? All right, let's go ahead and come out of the posture. So remember, all balance poses can be with support, and tree pose with your foot on the floor is a really nice way of practicing moving into the open hips while feeling stable. So there's so many different ways. Our best work in yoga happens when we let go of expectations of what we're supposed to be doing, and instead we respect and are guided by the inner sensing of what the body's asking for. Feel your yield, feel your push. Feel your breath open, bottomless breath. Feel the breath touch the soles of the feet, the pelvic floor. Let's go ahead and come onto the ground. All right, so we're gonna come into some hip stretches. First, just take the soles of the feet together. You can sit on the edge of a blanket. Okay, so if you need a little support, that's a good thing to have. A little extra lip underneath there. Soles of the feet are coming together for Baddha Konasana. You might need to be a whole lot higher than one blanket underneath your pelvis. You might need a bolster and 2 blankets or whatever you got, okay? So hands come behind you to support the openness of the chest. Drop the knees. See if we can get that spiraling effect in the thighs again like we did before. So it's kind of the opposite of the inner spiral. We're now working with an outer spiral. Sometimes this can make us kind of want to do some strange things with our pelvis to try to get there. So make sure your low back is very neutral so we're not rolling back into the hips. You want to have a very neutral pelvis as you do this. Deep breaths here. Support yourself. Sometimes you need even a little extra support. You can put hands on blocks. If you're up on a lot of support, you may be far away from the floor. Let's go ahead and relax that. We're just going to do a little isometrics here. So not isometrics, PNF stretching. propioneuromuscular facilitation. Okay, so what you can have blocks on your knees, or you can take your forearms or your hands onto your knees. So what I want you to do is you want to have a push into the hands. So have the hands and the knees move into each other. So it's not just trying to push your knees down. We're trying to lift the knees into the hands as the hands try to drop the knees toward the earth. So I feel this in my core. You know, there's a lot that happens when you do this, but hopefully your inner thigh muscles and your hip flexors are joining into the party. And then relax that and notice if you go just a little bit deeper. And let's do that one more time. So either with the elbows or the hands or blocks, whatever you got, push your knees and arms, hands into each other. Make sure you're breathing. It's easy to hold the breath in a posture like that. And then release. And just see if your knees drop down a little bit more. It's a little hack for the nervous system to, it's like crying uncle, you know, like when you're being tickled, stop, stop, stop. So that when you have that resistance, sometimes your body just gives a little bit more. It's like, okay, I'll relax, I'll let go. So open up your spine again, and then we're going to hold the knees and bring them in toward each other. Wrap your knees close with your arms, bow in. Just let your legs relax for a moment. Deep breath in, deep breath away. Stretch your legs straight out. Maybe rock your knees just a bit. Okay, flex your feet, lift up through your spine. We're going to come forward, but not very much. So I don't want you to think about dropping your head toward your legs. This would be that collapse. And then we also don't want to push ourselves off the floor. So is there a little yielding to be had as you just move your torso forward a little bit? Let's go ahead and release to come out of there. We're going to come onto our back, or, so you get to choose reverse pigeon pose on your back or regular pigeon pose on the front. So if you're going to do regular pigeon pose, this is this one where your leg comes forward and your back leg is straight behind you. You can support underneath your hips in a couple different ways. I like to have a blanket or two long ways so that both my front leg sit bone and my back thigh rest on the bolster or blanket. If you are just wanting to support underneath your hip, that's fine too. And if you're moving into reverse pigeon pose, we're going to come down onto our back and bring our foot on top of our knee and reach back to grab your hamstring or the front of your shin. If you're on your back, make sure your neck is not tweaked out. If you need to put a little blanket underneath your head, that's fine. Make sure your shoulders aren't really strained in the posture. So even if the hamstring is too far away for you to reach, you can grab a strap and put it around your shin or your hamstring so that you're holding the strap instead of interlacing the fingers. Sometimes that can make a little bit more ease through your upper body. Another great way to do reverse pigeon pose is to put your foot on something against a wall or a piece of furniture. So as we're here, you can rest your foot. This is my favorite way of doing reverse pigeon pose because your upper body gets to just relax. And the closer you get to whatever point of contact you're making, deeper the stretch. So whatever you're choosing to do, allow yourself to breathe here. Give yourself over. Is there a long spine? Are you able to breathe deeply? Can you melt the tension patterns in your hip? All right, let's go ahead and change sides. So depending on what you're doing, you might need to change something. Maybe you want to do a different pose on the side because of a hip or a knee or something needs to change. Maybe you need more support, less support. If you whatever, you just need to find what's happening in this side of your body.
So remember, we're trying to cultivate capacity for greater movement potential. And that doesn't mean that you need to be super bendy and flexy. The goal is not to have extreme range of motion. The goal is to have functional, free range of motion. And for everybody, that means different things. Don't you want to be comfortable when you bend down to pick something up off the floor? Don't you want to be comfortable when you reach up high to grab a plate from the top shelf in your cupboard? All the ways that we move through the day that are normal movements, not, isolated movements, but normal full ranges of motion. That's our goal, is to have freedom there so that we're relaxed and comfortable and at ease in our bodies. So everything you do in your yoga practice, keep an eye on trying to preserve and cultivate greater movement potential for freedom, not for extreme. So who cares if you can do the splits, or you can stand on your head, or you can, put your foot behind your head. Like, these are not normal ranges of motion. Those aren't going to keep us free. So think about what that means in your body today. What are you doing right now in this pose? Does it feel freeing? Are you locked somewhere that you need your breath to bring your breath to? Is there some vector of movement that needs to change just a little bit to find ease in your joints? All right, and then let's go ahead and relax. Starfish your body, legs straight out, arms wide. Open yourself up. Exhale, chin up. Put your feet on the floor, lift your hips and scooch them to the left, knees up and drop them to the right. Now, if the twist is too far, if the floor feels far away, stick a blanket or a block or something underneath your knees so that you don't have to come all the way to the floor. Okay. Finding your breath, hold the outer knees so your legs can relax. Turn your head in the opposite direction if it feels comfortable to do so. Deep inhales, exhales. Inhale, pick up the knees. And let's change sides. Come to neutral. Neutral spine. Take a breath in neutral spine. And then scooch the other way. So hips over to the right, knees drop left. You can take your arm where it is comfortable. So remember, you can support underneath your knees, and you can also support underneath your arm if you need to, if this is too big of an opening for your chest. Can you yield into the floor here? What can you give over? What can you let go of? All right, and then let's go ahead and lift yourself back up. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Take a breath. And then as you're ready, before Shavasana, just stretch your legs out straight for a moment. Arms can come up over your head. Just feel the full length of you. And then relax and take any props you need. So if you want to put bolsters underneath your knees, a pillow under your head, maybe you want to have your legs up on the chair or on a couch like this. So you get to decide what is best for your body. Okay. So allow the femur bones to get really heavy no matter what position you're finding. Drop the weight of your pelvis down. Drop the weight of your femur bones down. These big bones in the body. And you let them yield into the earth, sink. So even here, can you feel a little bit of a difference between collapse and yielding? So yielding gives, you almost go deeper into the earth when you're yielding. Remember, you're giving yourself. It's active. You're giving yourself to the earth. Imagine like water when you water a plant and the water kind of seeps into the soil slowly. See if you can let your body seep into the earth. Notice, scan yourself and notice if there's any part of you that resists seeping into the earth. If there's still a sense of propping anywhere that you have to be on guard or conscious of moving away instead of dropping in. And if you find a place like that in your body, just breathe there and be super kind. So we don't want to snatch and grab our body and force it down. I just want to be conscious to invite. Do your limbs feel even in their weight? Is your breath deep and full? Can you feel your senses give over to the earth as well? Can you drop the attention of your eyes, the attention of your ears? Let them retreat, melt your skin, retreating and melting your tongue, your jaw. Let's begin to move the breath again. Drop into the sensations of rest. Let's begin to move a little bit. So maybe swivel around your ankles or wiggle your toes. Roll out your wrists. Move through your fingers. Maybe stretch your arms overhead. Maybe bring your knees into your chest. Maybe rock a little bit. Take your time. Come over onto your side. Use your arms to lift yourself upright. And come to a seated posture again.
hands to your heart. Let's bow in. Offer the integrity of your mind and body together, this sense of unity, presence. Offer it outward, share this energy with another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.